All right. What's up, Panther fans? Thank you for tuning in tonight for another podcast of the Four-Man Rush. Tonight we got myself, Will, we got Kev, and we got Vashti Hurt from the Carolina Blitz joining us. So, Vashti, thank you for joining us tonight. Before we get started, just want to update everybody on what's been going on with the Carolina Blitz, what you've been up to, and what's in store for the rest of this year.
Yeah. So the draft, a few weeks, maybe 3 weeks ago. Just finished with rookie minicamp. We have um minicamp coming up soon, and then there'll be a break, and then training camp at the end of July. So yeah, it's kind of the slow season, which I embrace after a busy March Madness. So yeah.
Well, good. Well, glad to have you. Thank you for joining us again. So let's get started talking about kind of wrap up the Panthers offseason. I mean, talking to Matt Rule, seeing their pressers, Matt Rule and Scott Fitterer, what did you think of the plan heading into the offseason, plus from a global point of view?
I think the plan is to try to put together a squad that will improve. I do think that the Panthers will sign another veteran quarterback. I don't think they're done with that quarterback room. They will sign somebody to compete with Sam Darnold. I've been saying that I think they bring back Cam Newton, but I think that from what I've been hearing, they would have to agree. It's not necessarily that either side is opposed to coming back. It's a money issue at this point. So I still think that that's on the table. And then, Phil Snow trying to build on that defense, and then solidifying an offensive line that has been an Achilles heel for the Panthers, which they did, of course, with some free agent signings, and then drafting Iken Ekwonu in the first round. So, I like the moves that the Panthers have made this offseason. And I know that people are still on this fire rule train, but from what they've done, listen, people might be upset because if he starts the season out, and reaches that bye week with a winning record, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, so you mentioned the offensive line. I know you got a firsthand view of Ike Ekwonu at rookie minicamp and saw some of his pressers. What's your first impressions of him? What do you think his role is going to be as a rookie?
I think that, I've covered Icky at NC State, so I've kind of been watching him for a bit. And when he was collecting bottles of pancake syrup and we would have pressers, and there would be a bunch of syrup bottles in the background because that's just what he does on the field. Every coach and every scout that I've talked to have said, quote, the Panthers got a dog. And I feel like he's a dog on the field, but he presents himself very calm and very very smart, very aware in press conferences. So I think that they got the best of both worlds. And he's from Charlotte, so I think that that's even a bigger plus because it makes him a local guy. It's easier for people to kind of root for him. You have so I liked what I saw from him. He's listed at 6'4", but he presents himself much bigger than what he is. He said he weighed in. I think he said he weighed in. What was it? 320, I think.
Yes, he said 323. He said 323.
Yeah, he said he can play between 315 and 330. So I think he's kind of right where he wants to be size-wise. But, he's a big guy. And to me, the thing that I like about him is that he's just not a big guy. The Panthers have drafted offensive linemen in the past. We all know, and some of those experiments haven't gone well. I think Icky genuinely loves football, and he's genuinely competitive. And some of the knock on the previous guys were that they were lazy and they didn't really like football. And I don't think you're going to have that problem with Icky.
Yeah, mentioning from being from Charlotte, I found footage of him at Providence Day. He was the anchor leg on his 4x100 meter relay. I'm just imagining being on a track team and running next to a 6 foot, 6'2", 320-pound guy on an anchor leg. So definitely a great athlete, from Charlotte. So glad to have him. Okay, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, I want to ask Vashti, as a member of the media, a lot of Panther fans feel like that when these pressers are done, that that Matt Rule is not being honest, or they feel like that the coaches are supposed to tell the fans the 100% complete truth. Can you kind of give us from a media perspective, like whenever y'all hold these pressers, like how much do y'all reasonably expect truth to be told versus what fans should, I guess, be getting from these pressers?
Truth in terms of what?
Well, they a lot of things that goes on the Panthers social medias, they feel like Rule is not being honest. They say he when he starts talking real fast, he's searching for the truth. They just feel like that, and like you said, it could be just the fire Rule crowd, those people. But I guess just in terms of what should fans expect as far as percentage of truth for a coach, because we know coaches are not supposed to tell everything that's going on. You know, certain things stay within the locker room. Like, how do y'all project it?
I think with any sport, you're gonna get some of the truth. I don't think that Coach Rule is necessarily out here blatantly lying, but I do think as a new coach in the NFL, he probably wants to be liked more than he should, and that causes him to say things that he thinks that fans will respond to, and instead of just being straight up. So, everybody's hung up on the Jay-Z comment, right? I keep hearing that Jay-Z comment. I think he said that because, he felt like it would make him relatable, and it backfired. So I want, I think Rule should just be like, bump it. I don't care what he's going to have to take the Belichick approach. Honestly, the good coaches in this league, they don't care what fans think about them. Right. And coming from college, I think that that's kind of a difference. When you're in college football, the coach is the man, and he calls the shots, and everything goes through him, and he's treated as such. He's almost like an untouchable until he's fired, right? In the pros is completely different than that. And so, Matt Rule came, they dropped a bag on him. And I think that he thought that the transition would be easier for him than it has been. And I didn't think that he was prepared for the level of criticism that comes with being a head coach in the NFL. And I think he's learning to adjust to that. But you get half truths from everybody. Scott Fitterer tells half truths. David Tepper tells half truths. You're never going to really get the full story. And that's with any franchise. So, I think Matt Rule is as open as he feels like he can be. But I do think he focuses too much on trying to be liked. And once he puts that to the side and starts kind of having, a FU, for lack of a better term, a FU attitude towards the fans, and really focuses on, the team and trying to make things better, then I think that it will cause him a lot less stress.
So that seems like a disconnect between what Tepper and him told him in his interview about 5-year rebuild. They seem to both be on the same page in terms of this wasn't going to happen overnight. Rome wasn't built in a day. This is the 5-year rebuild versus the fans that want to win now and are very impatient. Do you think Tepper is going to be as patient with Rule as he leads on, or do you think it's pretty much win now this year or we're moving on?
Yeah, I think this year is a make or break year for Matt Rule. I mean, Matt Rule had made the decision to get rid of Joe Brady, and that, with the way that the offense was performing, you can say that was a good move or not so good move. But now, there's nobody else who Matt Rule can fire to kind of say, okay, well, I'm going to make this move in order to make this team better. It's on him. And if this team does not improve this season, then yeah, I mean, we've seen the reports about Sean Payton. They didn't come from anywhere. So, Matt Rule, and I think that those reports are fed to the media to kind of put a fire under Matt Rule, like, yo, son, like, this is it. And there are no additional chances. 5-year rebuild or not, 3 5-win seasons in a row are not. It's just not going to cut it for the Panthers. And so Rule has to show improvement this season. If he doesn't, then it's not going to work out well for him.
Right.
Okay.
Uh,
Go
okay.
ahead. So, since you was able to go out to Vegas for the draft, I know you didn't get to stay long for it, but when you was there behind the scenes, uh, was there any type of, I guess, tidbits that you can now share that you were hearing before the Panthers drafted versus after we drafted Icky? Because, it pretty much came down to it's going to be a quarterback, it's going to be left tackle. Like any Vegas tidbits that you feel comfortable sharing with the fans?
I didn't really. I kind of fell in on. I think I tweeted that the Panthers, if it came down to who's the guy at the pit? I don't even remember his name anymore. Um, Quarterback out of Pitt. Come on, guys, help me out.
Oh, Kenny Pickett.
Pickett.
Kenny Pickett.
If it came down to Pickett and Willis, I was leaving the hotel and I was going somewhere and I saw somebody who was very well connected in the league that I knew, and he was like, "Yo, Vashti," and I'm just talking, and then he was like, "Yo, if it comes down to Pickett and Willis, the Panthers are not picking Willis," and I put that out there. I'm going to respect the conversation that we had. I know why the Panthers didn't pick Willis, based on what he said, and he's a pretty he has enough clout in the league for me to believe what he said. But I don't, I think that the Panthers got what they wanted in Corral. I think that they probably had Corral over Willis on their draft board the whole time, and Pickett over both of them. So yeah, other than that, at the actual draft is not, we as media don't get to experience it like the fans kind of do. We don't even get to watch it from the theater. We're in a big room, and we watch it on TV, just like everyone else. And it's just a room, like a conference room with a bunch of tables, and they have two big screens, and we're watching it on the TV. And then the players who are there, luckily Icky was there, and so we were able to get some footage of him coming and greeting his family. And then they have an interview room, and you can go back, and the players go through kind of a media circuit. So they'll come out, they have to do something with the NFL, they do something with their team, they do something with all of these different media entities, and then at the end they have a press conference. And so that's what it is. It's not what people think it is. So yeah, it's definitely one of the more work trips that I have in sports.
It's interesting you mentioned that about Willis, because in our group chat, I know Kev and Monty are big on the Willis train through this whole process, and I'm just looking at him like he's. You think they're gonna pass on Justin Fields wasn't good enough to take it 8, but Malik Willis good enough to pick it 6. There's something was never adding up with that. So I was like, I don't think Willis is gonna be in play in 6 like a lot of people were thinking. And then I didn't expect him to go in the 3rd round. It's interesting you brought that up, because I think I had Corral as my favorite quarterback. A couple people had Willis. It was all over the place. I don't think there was any unanimous, thoughts on who was the best quarterback in this draft.
Yeah, and the only reason I was on the quarterback train more this year was I didn't think none of the linemen were going to be there at 6, to be honest, based on when I saw all 3 were there, I was like, you got to be me, and I was just like, we got the pick of the litter. Like, I'm good with either one of the 3, so it was just.
At one point, I think when I was at the combine, they were projecting Icky to go number 1 and all the linemen to be gone. I think top 5, like right before. And so for it to work out the way that it did, where the Panthers got to pick from all of the top linemen in the draft, listen, it might be an omen for the season and Matt Rule's future, because like stuff like that doesn't just happen.
Right. Well, speaking of the quarterbacks, I know there's a lot of source reports coming from draft night that Scott Fitterer was literally on the phone with Cleveland during the draft trying to strike a deal with Baker Mayfield. Do you think you think that road's closed at this point, or do you still think?
I don't know. I never bought into that Baker Mayfield stuff. I just don't think he has the support from the team that he would like. Listen, Robbie Anderson has no problem with putting it on Twitter, right? We know that. He's not the only one who doesn't want to see Baker Mayfield in that locker room. I think they may kick the tires and see, but I just can't see them really. I can't see them signing someone like that. When you're, yeah, I'm not sold on it. Now watch tomorrow they sign Baker Mayfield. And I was on here I'm not sold on it. You know, you have Sam Darnold who's making what 22 million this year. You have Matt Corral who's gonna probably play an understudy type role. Baker Mayfield he's gonna come in and compete with the Darnold, but then he's also, you know, you have to weigh the other things. The star of this team is still Christian McCaffrey. And you have to think, okay, how are those two going to get along? And then how is he going to get Robbie Anderson made it very clear how he feels about Baker Mayfield. He and DJ are very close. So I'm saying, you know, if Robbie is saying it, I'm pretty sure DJ is feeling the same way. So, I mean, I think you have to weigh all of that. And Baker Mayfield just doesn't seem like the type of guy who would kind of welcome a Corral type player under his wings and kind of, you know, play that role of mentor. So I can't see them going that route. I just can't see them going that route.
With that said, do you think Matt Corral will have a chance to start week one, or do you think it's looking more and more like Sam Darnold have to suffer another few games of Sam Darnold as our starter?
It depends. I told you, I still think they sign another veteran. I just don't think it'll be Baker Mayfield. I think, and listen, I've been saying this for weeks, and I could be completely off base, but you know, there's a couple of people in media, they say Vashti be knowing, because for some reason I put this stuff out there. As I said earlier, I think I would not be surprised if Cam Newton, who is still popular among the fans, popular in the locker room, and I think that Matt, you know, everybody says Matt Rule is the reason why he left originally. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't been able to get any inside information on that. But I think Fitterer likes Cam Newton. And I think that from a dollar standpoint, David Tepper sees the value in Cam Newton. There was no buzz around this team. Like the team was in purgatory before Cam Newton came back for that Arizona game. It was completely bananas. And then his first home game. So it was just, you know, he brings a spark to this team. And I think he could legitimately compete with Sam Darnold. No, Cam Newton isn't the same as of old. But I think it's important to remember he was thrust into the position, learning a playbook. Then you have one OC, then you lose that OC, and then you have a new OC. You give Cam Newton a relatively full training camp, full off season, with an opportunity to learn the playbook. He will compete with Sam Darnold for a starting role on this team. And he would be the type of person who would have no problems with kind of playing a mentor-mentee type relationship to a Matt Corral. And I think that that's what you want if you're the Carolina Panthers. So don't sleep on Cam Newton coming back. So I don't think that Darnold is, they're saying Darnold is the starter right now because that's what he is. But when they sign whatever veteran quarterback that they sign to come into training camp, that will be looked at as a competition day one.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how you look at Ryan Tannehill talked about my job's not to mentor Malik Willis. Ben Roethlisberger said something similar about, I guess, Mason Rudolph. Sam Darnold hasn't even called Matt Corral yet. Yeah. Then you watch Cam Newton when we drafted Will Greer back in 2019, just a completely different response. He's like, it's my job to make him better, you know, and took a very good approach to that. So I think that's something that deserves attention too. You want to say something, Kev?
No, I was going to just tell Vashti if Cam does sign, we're going to blow you up on Twitter and make it known that you put out the vibe. I've been saying that in the foreman rush chat for the longest as well. I'm like, look, he wants to be here because I believe you was the one that had said when we spoke with you last year. I don't think it was doing a tweet that the Panthers originally offered Cam a multi-year, but the one-year deal offered more money, and that's why he went with that one. So I'm thinking maybe the same thing, something similar, maybe an option year or something, that bridge, type of role. Because like you said, this will be the first time he's been healthy, no COVID, full training camp since what, 2018?
Right.
So I just think that, in a bridge situation, I just think that it makes logical sense. I mean, the man had 60,000 people wearing fedora hats for that Washington game.
Right.
I couldn't find one big enough because I got a big head, but still,
Right, and I think salary cap wise, it makes sense too. I mean, if they acquire, Jimmy G's what, $25 million, Baker Mayfield's 18. We're gonna have $35-40 million tied up in two quarterbacks who, with Jimmy G's injury and Mayfield's inconsistency, who's to say they even beat out Darnold in camp? So
exactly. I mean, if the Panthers have already had some questionable decisions at quarterback, right? And you just mentioned it. Jimmy G and Baker Mayfield are expensive guys who possibly won't even be your starter. You're already overpaying for Sam Darnold. You don't want to overpay two quarterbacks who may just be marginal guys. So, and yes, Scott Fitterer came out and said they wanted to sign a multi-year. They wanted Cam to sign, more than a 1-year deal. Those were options that they were exploring. They just, I guess, couldn't come to an agreement on that. But Cam is going to, I don't know what his asking price is. He'll probably have to come down on his asking price a little bit. But I think for both parties involved, Carolina is probably the best place. If Cam wants to have an opportunity to legitimately get on the field, and I don't know if he can get that anywhere else, he will come to Carolina. And then, you don't have to win over a fan base like he kind of had to do in New England with those pricks. So it's set up for him here. So, we'll see if they come to some sort of agreement.
That's the question is do you know if he has any other suitors besides the Panthers at this moment?
I haven't heard of any. I really haven't. But I know the Panthers have been open with saying they've kept the lines of communication open with him. So
yeah, I think Scott Fitterer said he ran into Cam at the Kentucky Derby and they were texting each other. And I was just like, wow, first ran into him at dinner with Dan Morgan and then running. So I don't know. I'm a little bit more hopeful than probably most. I just love for him to get a chance to redeem. I get tired of people saying Panthers are 0-14 the last time Cam started, like team wins or a quarterback stat that drives me nuts.
Yeah, but we won 7 games with the Patriots though, because that's kind of misleading. But go ahead.
Right. But since you were at rookie minicamp, because we definitely saw your videos and things. What did you see? What did you like from what you saw out on the field from the not only guys we drafted, but maybe some undrafted guys that may have caught your eye? I see that we signed 2 today after Troy Pride was released. What's your impressions from what you saw out there?
It was very limited. I'm gonna be honest with you. So the way the fields are set up, defense works on the backfield, and we're really only have access to see the offense work. So they did 7 on 7, I believe, a little bit, but the offensive linemen were so limited. You had coaches who had to stand in place for some of the O linemen because I think there were only 4 O linemen there. Yes. So it really wasn't a true. It really did give us a true look at what the guys were. I was looking at Icky and I was looking at Matt because that's what people cared about. And I don't want people to think that Corral has some throws that had me looking like, ooh, like that. And then he had some that had some zip on it and had a little zing. So, I mean, he looked like a rookie. There were drops by receivers and they looked like rookies. And I was telling another member of the media, it's crazy that you can see, and Matt Rule said this in one of his pressers, like this is a veteran league. And you can see the difference between the rookies and the vets. And those guys look like rookies and they looked like undrafted free agents and they looked like guys who were trying out for a squad. And so, I can't say that anything really stood out to me because I wasn't able to see them a lot in one-on-one type situations. It was very, oh, this is how we, run through practice. This is getting them used to what things will be once the veterans come back in the building. So yeah, it was more so that than me really being able to evaluate how the guys look and how they may perform at training camp.
You mentioned the offensive line. I know people, I don't know how it became a debate, but people are wondering if Icky will be better at left guard or left tackle. Do you think he's specifically targeted for left tackle right now?
Well, that's what they've been saying. I don't know who started that. Who started that?
The Brady Boos. That's what I call them, the Brady Boos.
Oh, the Brady
Brady
Boos.
Christensen.
Yes. Because they feel like because he was drafted 3rd round last year and he got bounced around playing all different positions that he deserves to play left tackle. And it's just like, yeah, that's where it came from. Yeah.
Brady Christensen is no Icky Nkwonu, okay? And he's not going to get paid like Icky, and he's not going to play like Icky. And if Brady was like that, they would not have drafted Icky. Right. So I think that Brady has upside to him. The good thing about Brady is that he can play. He can play left tackle, and he can learn other positions on the O-line. But Icky was drafted to be the starting left tackle for the Carolina Panthers. So, and I think that that's where they're gonna slate him, and that's where he'll be for the foreseeable future. That whole guard stuff, that's not realistic.
So let me ask you this. Is there a certain position outside? I know we talked a lot about quarterbacks and offensive line. Is there any other position groups on the team that you're thinking is going to be really good camp battles, coming in? Because I know a lot of people looking at running back. Me personally, I'm looking at, the linebackers. Like, what position group do you think is going to be really competitive heading into training camp?
I think linebacker, I agree with you. Linebacker will be really competitive. I think in the secondary, you have Dante, and then you have JC coming back from injury. But I think after that, it kind of gets, let's see how will CJ Henderson be? Is he gonna be, the guy that some people said who is just checked out and not engaged, who has the talent but just doesn't have the mindset to be successful in the league? So how will he act? How will he be? And then I think there's still some questions in the safety position for the Panthers, and how, who will be there. I know, what they brought Justin Burris back, right? But he's up there in age. You have Jeremy Chin, who they're first season on his belt, kind of playing in that role, but is he better in a linebacker type role? I think that Phil Snow will kind of put these guys in the best position to win. But I come training camp, of course, quarterback, that's what everybody will be looking at. But also I'll be looking at linebacker. Shaq Thompson is, he had that great week one. Right. And everybody was like, oh, it's the number 7. And then it was kind of like, So we'll see. We'll see what happens at that linebacker position. That's one. And then that secondary safety.
I know we had a big loss with Hassan Reddick. You're losing a double-digit sack guy. I mean, Brian Burns coming up on a contract year. He's due for a big extension. You think Gross Matos is going to get a chance to play opposite Burns, or do you see them maybe call up for Jadeveon Clowney and bring him home, or add to that room as well?
I don't know if Gross Matos. I'm not convinced with him yet. I know that they kind of drafted Barno to kind of be that type of Hassan. To develop into that Hassan Reddick type player. But he's a rookie, so I do think they may be open to trying to find somebody to play opposite of Burns. I just haven't seen enough from Gross Matos to say, okay, he's going to step in and be, what, or even relatively close to what Hassan Reddick was. So they may be looking out. I don't know if Clowney is the answer. Clowney is up there in age. How old is Clowney now? Clowney has to be at least 33, 34.
Yeah, I think it was a 2014 draft, right? With that Kelvin Benjamin draft.
Yeah, he was in the 2014 draft, so he's 8 years. So
yeah. So we'll see. Maybe the answer. I mean, I think that they're also looking for linebacker. I'm drawing a blank on these names, but anyways, so yeah, I'm gonna have to pull it up because it's gonna drive me crazy. But I think they're gonna have some competition in that role, but I don't know if they're gonna go outside. But as Gross Matos, to me, from what I have seen, is not gonna be the replacement right for Hassan Reddick.
Speaking of linebacker, they drafted Brandon Smith from Penn State in the 3rd round. I mean, it looks like he's 12 years old, but other than that,
you think he looks young?
Yeah, I was like, no way he's legal to drink yet. Maybe it's just
okay.
Maybe it's just a TV. But I know he's a good athlete and raw. Do you think he's gonna possibly get a lot of reps year one, or is he kind of a developmental player that we just have to be patient with, and maybe it's year 2 or 3 where we really see him get on the field?
I think he'll get reps. I think he'll get reps. I'm not as I mean, I've seen some tape on him, but I'm not as familiar with him as a player. But I think that, there aren't enough guys who are solidified on this team. I think everybody will probably have a chance to get on the field. But I do like, from what I've seen of him and from what I've seen of his tape, I think that he'll get some burn for the Panthers. I'm trying to look for the guy that will probably, to me, start ahead of.
We have Corey Littleton. Then was one guy we signed from the Rams at linebacker, and then the other one, I think he had some legal issues. I don't know if that's going to be
Marquise Haynes. That's who I was thinking of. So I think that as far as opposite Brian Burns, I was still on that because I couldn't think of who I was. Marquise Haynes, I think that, and then for the linebacker position, Luvu. I mean, I think that they expect him to take. I mean, he showed flashes last year. We saw that. I think they expect him to take more of a leadership role in that position group.
Right, and then I guess in the inside linebacker they signed Corey Littleton, and it's Damian Wilson has the legal issues, which I haven't seen an update since it happened.
Me either.
But as far as I know, he'll be ready for minicamp coming up. And so about the interior offensive line, we know we signed Bradley Bozeman, Corbett, and Cade Mays. So I guess the competition is really at left guard. Do you see Brady Christensen maybe playing left guard, or are we back to Michael Jordan, Deontay Brown, or those other guys with kind of musical chairs at that spot?
Kevin is shaking his head.
Yes.
Yeah.
We need nasty at guard. Brady does not bring. He's got athleticism, but you can't be chest bumping with these guys. You got to put people on like you said, them pancakes from Raleigh. We need to bring those down here to Charlotte.
Well, I mean, yeah, I agree. So I think that for the young guys, I mean, you have Bozeman at center. You still have Deontay Brown. I'm really, really interested to see what his development was during the offseason. I know a lot of people have been salivating at the prospect of having Icky and Deontay work that left side of the line. I think his development will be really key into the line and how everything works itself out. You still have Pat Elflein, you have Michael Jordan, you have Dennis Daly. These are all guys who are just, nobody really sticking out. But I mean, you never know. And then you have
Cade,
right tackle.
Oh, Moten.
Moten.
Taylor Moten.
So I mean, and then Cade Mays, who has played everywhere along the offensive line as in college, and he's a big guy. Like he's like 6'6", legit. So I think the Panthers have more options than they have. But they have made a point of signing versatile linemen. And so whether they have, whether Cade Mays kind of takes on that role, I think that they'll probably want somebody a little more veteran. You have Austin Corbett. So, I mean, right now they have guys who along that line, they have depth right now. Right. But who kind of take those reins, I don't know. But on that left side, if Deontay Brown can become what people thought he could be, right, alongside Icky, that would be huge for the Panthers.
Yeah, because how I understand, I think Matt Rule had mentioned it as well. He spent so much time trying to get his weight down from what was his weight, Kev, like 360 something.
He started at the Senior Bowl. At the Senior Bowl, he was like 365, and last check he had got down to like 338. Yeah. So I think Matt Rule had said that he wanted.
He's listed on the website at 335 right now. So yeah.
Okay. So I think Rule said he was comfortable with him playing in the 330s is where he felt comfortable. So, yeah.
Because at least this offseason they'll be focused on technique instead of trying to lose weight, which maybe see some development there from him as well at the position.
And I've heard a lot of good things about Campen, their new O-line coach. Every scout that I've talked to, former player that I've talked to, have said that, he's not only is he a good coach, but he's good people. So we'll see.
Yeah, we know when we had Mike Wall on, he spoke very highly of him when it's time with in Green Bay with them, and we had a fun time. We don't know if you saw that clip when he had the presser and he was talking about Icky, and he almost called him a.
I was on the presser.
Yeah. Oh yeah, duh.
He had to catch himself.
I was like, yeah, that's a real O-line coach right there.
Yeah, definitely. Is it? I was watching him. Where was I? Somewhere. I don't know. I was somewhere and I was like, yeah, okay. He is definitely the prototype O-line coach, just like gritty. He has this huge leg tattoo. Next time we get on a presser, I'm going to ask him, because it's unusual for a white man his age to have a leg tat, right? So I want to know the story behind that. But yeah, he seems like good people. But he definitely is like, I was telling somebody, I said, I was looking at rookie minicamp, and Rule, McAdoo, and Camp, and they were all working with the O-linemen briefly. And I looked at them and I said, oh, I know they go hard as far as like when they go out and when they drink. So I would love to see them in their element, because they all look like they know how to throw back a few.
Right. Yeah, I think I was telling Kev when he kind of tipped who we were picking, because he was like, if you get a nasty mother, and he got real excited, and I was like, yeah, Icky's probably number one on his. Speaking of coaches, what's your first impressions of Ben McAdoo? I know that's kind of been popular with the fans about his ability to evaluate quarterbacks and working with Aaron Rodgers.
We had that one conference with him, and that's it. I think McAdoo, like Rule, has something to prove after his failed experience in New York. And so, we'll see what happens with him. We just haven't really been able to see much at all, because, they've been in minicamp. I know they've been talking about him installing the offense with these guys during OTAs and minicamp, but to kind of get a feel of him, we really just have had one press conference, and that's it. We know that he has no problem. We've seen the comments that he made about Sam Darnold, right? We saw the comments that he made. What was it? Was it actually Baker Mayfield that he made those other comments about? Yeah. So, I mean, obviously he kind of hit the nail on the head with a couple of those quarterbacks. And so trust me, I'm sure he had a lot to do with the Panthers going with Matt Corral, and I'm sure he saw some potential there. So, obviously he knows his quarterbacks. We'll just see how he tailors the offense around whomever he has as starting quarterback. Because I don't know if Sam Darnold will be able to execute what his vision is.
Right. I think with McAdoo, he had Baker Mayfield as the 6th quarterback in that draft. I think the worst one, and they had reports coming out of the media. I think it was Ian Rappaport. They were saying that the Panthers were split on Baker Mayfield. Some people are strongly against him. Some people really like him. And I was just thinking it has to be Ben McAdoo that's heavily against that and putting his foot down. What are you going to say?
Yeah. I can go back with and that's Vashti. If with CJ Henderson, it was said that he was dealing with some mental health issues coming from Jacksonville, and the Panthers were the first team to have an in-house therapist. Her name is Tish Gurin, and I was just wondering, no stories that they've been printed up, but I was just wondering if you heard anything about how she does with the players, or if she's been working with CJ, because I feel like once he gets that mental whatever he was dealing with out of the way, I think he can become a very good player for us.
Yeah, Tish is no longer with the Panthers. I think I don't know what happened, but she hasn't been there for a little while. Now I don't know if they have replaced her role, but yeah, I did hear the same things about Henderson. When he spoke to the media, he didn't seem very comfortable, and that's not speaking to the media isn't necessarily the easiest thing to do. But I feel like the Panthers have shown investment in him with trading for him with Jacksonville, and so they're gonna see what they can do to help him. But I haven't heard about I've heard that he's interesting and he doesn't. I remember Phil Snow saying that when you can get him to talk, he says good stuff, but it's hard to get him to talk. So he just might be one of those guys who's heavily guarded. But yeah, I don't know who or if they still have an in-house psychologist for the guy.
Yeah, speaking of CJ, I know the cornerback room is very young, and I think one of the better additions was Steve Wilkes, bringing him back when we saw what he did with Josh Norman and the young secondary we used to have. What's the mood like in the room about his, or the excitement level for having him back in town?
I think that Rule, honestly, in an effort to save his job, what Rule did initially is bring all of his friends from college. And that's just not necessarily going to work on the league level. And I think he learned that with the experiment with Joe Brady. Phil Snow is, he's had tough defenses, although he has some things he can work through too. And I think Steve Wilkes is a great addition to the coaching staff, period, because he brings what they were lacking, which is NFL experience. And so, that's the one thing I think that Coach Rule made a point of doing, is getting guys who had more experience at the NFL level to help guide him through this kind of process. And so, yeah, I think a lot of people are excited about him. And then, they were able to keep the other coach, I forget, the younger coach who everybody likes in that room.
Right.
Evan. Yeah. So he's the young guys love him. So I think that mix of young and I don't want to say old, but seasoned, I guess, is going to be a good mix for that room and the defense as a whole.
Yeah, so speaking of his number to 24, so he's got Josh Norman, James Bradbury, so big shoes to fill with that. So go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, and I was also saying bringing back Al Holcomb, I think is going to be huge as well, because he was definitely one of our favorites, linebacker coach. And I'm looking on the Panthers website; they got him list him as assistant head coach, defense. So I didn't know that title was thrown in there as well, but. I'm definitely glad he's back in the fold. I just think there's a lot more. I was mentioned NFL caliber coaching to help Rule out this year.
Yeah, Evan Cooper. That's his last name. Thank you.
Yeah, Evan Cooper. And then, I mean, and looking at, listen, and Ed Foley on special teams, Matt Rule is doing whatever needs to be done to save his job. And I respect it. Honestly, I respect it.
So how many wins do you think he will need to get
No.
Don't do that, Will. Can't get it on tape.
No. How many wins would he need?
With 9 and 8 in a wild card, get him another year, or 8 and 9.
I think the decision will be made by the bye week. Bye week is week 13, like it was last year, I believe. If the Panthers are 6-6, and the end of their schedule is tough. Let's say I would say if the Panthers have, is that for me? Do y'all hear that? Oh, that might be.
No, that's not.
Sorry. That might have been.
Did
y'all hear that?
Yeah.
I was asking my next question because I was going to ask you what you thought about the schedule release video.
Oh my goodness! So I was sorry. If the Panthers are 6-6 or 7-5 with an opportunity to make the playoffs, I think Matt Rule stays. If they only have a few wins and they seem like they're kind of limping toward the end of the season, I think that David Tepper cuts his losses like he did in Rock Hill and move on.
Right. Kevin, we were gonna ask about the schedule release.
Yeah, I was gonna ask what she thought of the video. With the Montel Jordan, Thomas Davis in the video, that old school feel, everything from the 90s. I was feeling it. I done watched it like probably 20 times already because that's just me.
I loved it. Like, shout out to the Panthers social team. They're young. I think they have a good mix of younger and when I say young, like one of the girls was born in like 2000 something. And she wasn't born in the 90s, so she had to ask some questions. But then you have some people who are very familiar with the 90s. But kudos for them for knowing their audience, because social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook are full of millennials, us. And so we are 80s babies who kind of grew up in the 90s. So all of those references brought back a real sense of nostalgia. And it was a scheduled release that was for the culture, but fit everybody. And so I respect that. They know what they're doing over there when it comes to things like that. They know who drives the culture.
Yeah.
All right. Look, check some of these comments, Kev, before we move on.
Yeah, definitely had a lot of comments here. Let me see, pull one up.
Thank Luke Cage for the
super chat.
Appreciate you as always. And pull that one up.
This one here.
I don't even know the comments.
Yeah, this one says Mays need a season of strength and conditioning, but he will likely see the field when injuries occur. He was a 5th, 6th rounder for a reason and lacks overall athleticism. Me personally, I like athleticism, but it's not as pressing of a need, in my opinion, when you play offensive line, particularly the style that he plays. He's a body remover. Watching this film, he steadily had his head on a swivel looking for work. He was about to come out last year because I did a write-up on him, but he came back for his senior year at Tennessee. But I definitely think Hayes Mays will definitely make his name known.
Yeah, especially with day 3 picks. I mean, at least get in a rotational role. They carry 9 linemen usually. So
here's one I like here. Now, this is my personal favorite. Him and Deontay Brown for left guard here. It says Michael Jordan was coming along better towards the end of the season, which he was. This is the guy we picked up off the couch, played at Cincinnati, went to Ohio State. He just played nasty. He just brought an attitude to the offensive line that I really enjoyed watching when we watched the film. I don't know.
Right.
Here's always a favorite.
Does he have value though? Does he have value?
No.
Well, apparently Buffalo made it known. Was it a couple of days ago? They asked again and were told that he was off limits. So apparently, take that for what it's worth.
They just drafted Dalvin Cook, James Cook, Dalvin Cook's brother.
I mean, I think with Scott Fitterer, if the price is right, he would get rid of CMC. I don't think that CMC is an untouchable. I'm just curious what his trade value would be. I can't see it being that high, considering the fact that he's not been able to stay healthy the last few years.
And then they did the restructuring. They restructured Robbie. They restructured McCaffrey. They restructured Shaq. So that makes it even more difficult. The cap hit would be huge if they got rid of him now. I think the time to trade him would have been probably February or March.
Yeah. I think Icky going to be CMC's new best friend because, man, it just –
Or Foreman. I mean, that'd be a nice little change of pace. A big back that can break tackles and take some of that load off of him.
Let's see. Oh, I like this one. I know we talked about Brandon Smith earlier. It says Brandon Smith lacks natural linebacker instincts to make an impact. Rookie season has a lot of work, but he has a lot of great physical skills as he matures. A nickel linebacker, special teamer. I think all four guys we drafted on day 3, with the exception maybe Cade Mays, are probably going to get a lot of their reps on special teams. I mean, when you think about the athleticism of a Brandon Smith, of what was his name out of Virginia Tech, Abajo? I keep messing that up.
Who, the edge rusher we got?
Yeah. Is it Abaro? I can't.
Anyway.
Barno.
Yeah.
Right. And the cornerback we got out of Baylor in the 7th round.
Boogie. That's all I know.
Yeah.
Who ran the fastest time at the combine.
Yeah, you should have seen it coming, man. Matt Rule had to get one of his players. Like,
I saw that.
Yeah, I think that was a good pick, though. I mean, sometimes.
I mean, to get him like at that. I mean, speed kills, and sometimes speed can cover up a multitude of sins. And he at worst he's cut, but at best he's a special teams guy. Who develops into a player on the team.
Smooth.
Do I think he's saving his job? Rule? Y'all put that up there for me to answer?
That's smooth.
Yeah. That's our Foreman Rush brother that's not here. Smooth.
Do I think that Rule is saving his job? I think with what he's done during the offseason, I think he's made steps to save his job. Yes, I do.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm a Rule critic myself, but I mean, you got to give him credit for learning from his mistakes, don't you? He got rid of he brought in veteran coaches with previous head coaching experience. That's one thing he got criticized for. He finally made a more patient approach at the quarterback position and trying to go with expensive retreads. So I think, he's – and I mean, look what he did at Temple and Baylor. Year 3 was when we saw the turnaround. So I think he's got a chance to maybe turn it around this year. I mean, think about what was Ron Rivera at this point, Kev. We went 6-10, 7-9.
And
started 1-3.
Yep. And
it started 2013, 1-3. Finished. So
right. So I got a question for you. The whole thing with Shi Smith, do you think the Panthers gonna release him over that? Do you think that's something that's gonna be swept up under the rug? I mean,
I'd asked about that. Like, nothing is really. I don't know what's going on with that. I know he was arrested in Spartanburg for carrying some weight and two forms of weight. So I don't know. I really think it depends on what happens legally. And we still don't know, what's happening with the linebacker that they signed and his stuff. I think that maybe if they were going to release Shi Smith, they would have done it already.
Right.
So I unless something else comes out, I think that he'll still, have an opportunity. He's still a talented player. I don't think they're ready to let him go just yet. Not without something else coming out regarding that whole legal situation.
Yeah, and they signed Andre Roberts, the kick returner, punt returner, who I think he made a Pro Bowl 1 year. So I thought Shi Smith was kind of in that role as well. So interesting to see how that bottom of the receiver depth chart works out.
Yeah, Rules said that getting a returner was one of their priorities, and with that signing. So yeah, we'll see what happens with Shi Smith. I hope he's able to, as a guy who's from South Carolina, I hope he's able to overcome that.
Right.
Yeah, and this right here is showing. We had our fans in the chat. Let us know how old Clowney is. He's 29.
Third, close to 30.
That's not that old. I see some people talking about signing Bradbury. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to cost at this. At this stage of free agency, he's probably not going to get a big contract.
Yeah, and plus, like I said, with nickel personnel, I know you need to have depth. We did run some dime with 4 cornerbacks, some with Phil Snow. I know he likes to use a lot of 3 safety personnel as well. I just don't see the fit. With Dante back, with J.C. Horn coming back. As of right now, Hartsfield is the starting nickel here, but we all know those players can be interchangeable. I just don't see the fit for Bradbury as a primarily cover 3 corner, and we're playing a lot more man now. So
plus they just cut Troy Pride, so corner depth's pretty deep already.
Yeah, Troy Pride had an uphill battle regardless, but he had a failed physical, is what they said. So I'm wondering what's going on with him health wise and recovering from that ACL surgery that he had.
We always got fun comments.
Thought he played better towards the end of the season. I think the one was the drop game. Was it Dallas? I think early in the year, but not Dallas. It was Minnesota. He had a couple of drops, but outside of that game, I didn't think he was that bad. He had better quarterback play. He had
he could have. I think Robbie did. All in all, I get what people are saying about Robbie doing a lot of talking and his play not really backing it up. Although I respect Robbie because I think that Robbie is a guy who keeps it a buck. I respect that about him. But he's also a guy who I don't think will have 2 bad seasons in a row.
No.
So, he sees the comments. He knows that, he had some drops last year. Last season. And I didn't really think it was a big deal. A lot of people played into it. He didn't participate in OTAs this year. He's participating in OTAs. So I don't think we see 2 bad seasons in a row, or not bad seasons, but I don't think we see the drops that we saw last year from Robbie that we saw this year. I don't think we see him this year that we saw last year.
It looks like he was kind of frustrated last year with Darnold too.
Everybody was frustrated last year. Trust. Everybody was frustrated last year. I think everybody was just ready to get the season over with.
You just saw the difference in the change in his personality when Cam got signed with Robbie.
Oh, it was much bigger.
Smooth.
He cutting up over there. Shout out to Smooth. He's a recent graduate as a airplane mechanic for Delta down there in Atlanta. So following the family tradition. So recent graduate. So shout out to him. That's why he can't be on down there in good old Atlanta.
All right, let's get through his last few.
That's pretty much it. That's worth showing. You know how fans can be. We don't want to run nobody off.
I would like to say, I saw somebody said something about white guys can't have tattoos. That's not what I was saying. I was saying, how old is Campen? Campen is in his 60s.
Yeah, 60 plus at least.
Okay, James Campen is 57 years old. Okay, he's a little younger than what I expected. But it wasn't I mean, the placement of the tattoo. Like, not many people are getting leg tats. Like, not many people, period, are getting leg tats. But for him to have a huge leg tat, I know there's a story behind it. And when I get the story, whomever said that is going to be glad, because they're going to be like, oh, that's a good story. I'm going to say, I told y'all it was going to be a good story. So, yeah.
Yeah, we definitely need more Campen interviews. I thought that was the most entertaining one this whole offseason. So, Vashti, you want to just tell everybody where they can find you on all your social media for Carolina Blitz?
Yes, I can be found on at carolinablitz.com. Shout out to my team who helps me. And at Keep Blitzing on Twitter, Carolina Blitz on Instagram and Facebook. Oh, and YouTube. So, yeah, I mean, if you search Carolina Blitz, you'll be able to find everything.
Okay, so everybody make sure you go follow all those pages, subscribe to the YouTube channel, great content for ACC, Carolina Panthers, so you won't want to miss it. Kev, before we sign off, you have anything else you want to say?
No, again, we just want to thank, Vashti for taking time. I heard Cresley busy schedule. I know I had tried to hit her up in Vegas, and she's like, Kev, I'm flying out the next day. Like, really?
Yeah.
Like, you tripped me out. You tripped me out because you were saying how they had the nerve to have a presser when y'all was on the plane heading out to Vegas.
No, it
was 38 hot.
No, it was crazy because I wasn't the only media person. Like, there were several of us. I know Sheena was on the plane as well. I know a couple of other, basically all the Charlotte people who were going to the draft were on this flight. And then something said, well, just, I got Wi-Fi mid-flight. And I see an email saying, after almost 2 years, David Tepper is going to meet with the media. And then I'm like, man. And then I'm getting upset watching the presser because everybody's talking about Greensboro. And I want to know about, I want to know about the Panthers. And I know Greenville, Rock Hill. I know Rock Hill was a hot story, but I'm like, man, like, I sure wish I could get in some of these questions about the team and, like, your mindset behind things, but, I couldn't. And so, yeah, that was the thing. I was not happy about that. They could have given us more of a heads up, but I guess when you're a billionaire owner, you kind of got to work around their schedule. So
this interview wasn't that informative too. We kind of deferred a lot of the questions to Scott Ritter and Matt Rule anyway. So I don't know how much.
I was watching. I just couldn't get my questions in. So oh well.
Yeah. So as usual, we'll probably will y'all be able to have access to the mandatory minicamp, or will y'all be on the outside looking in, or?
I will be there. I'll be at mandatory minicamp, and it should be, I think, luckily, I mean, we'll see how much we get to see. Usually media is there for only a certain period. So we'll see how much access they give us. But yeah, I'll be at minicamp.
Okay. All right, great. Well, we definitely again appreciate you making time with us on this Monday. It's been very entertaining. Look forward to working with you again, possibly, during training camp, when we're down in Spartanburg sweating it up.
Kevin don't speak at training camp though. So like,
wait, hold up. Wait a minute.
That's for another 4-man rest show though.
Yeah, right.
I'm trying to get on y'all level. I'm trying to sit next to you and David Newton and Joe, because I like to see your face when some of these questions gets asked, because I know your personality, and I know sometimes you be having these looks.
Oh, like, yeah. I mean, my face shows everything. I mean, it is what it is. Yeah, sometimes I'll make a face. Yeah, my face will show everything.
Are y'all still doing those virtually, or are y'all in person
we do everything pretty much in person now. Like, so for Minicamp, we did everything in person, and hopefully we'll be able to be back in the locker room this fall. But we'll see.
Yeah, I hope they stop asking Matt Corral those alcohol questions. I mean, he answered it 1-2 times. Is that enough?
Well, Newt had to ask that question. Listen, when you work for the worldwide leader, they want the stuff like people like that's what he has to ask those questions.
Right.
And yeah, he might come off as a jerk asking them, but that's what everybody was talking about, right?
Right. Yep.
Okay, then. So
right.
Yeah, I saw Pat McAfee got on Ian Rappaport about that too. That was pretty funny on his show as well.
Yeah, he said the same thing he did, though. It's just part of the job. You gotta ask those questions to keep the habit. So, all right. Well, again, thank you for joining us tonight. Everybody, be sure to go follow Carolina Blitz on all social media. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Keep pounding. We'll talk to you next week. Okay.